There have been some terrific ideas presented here today, lots and lots of innovation. And I think there just needs to be so much more innovation. Turning on innovation in your culture, in your teams, and in your organization. They might say, why? Why is it important? Terry, did you forget about the Great Recession? My boss isn't talking about innovation, he's talking about controlling costs and about never, ever thinking outside the box. But he's the only guy who shouldn't think outside the box, right? Aren't things moving faster? Don't you feel they're moving faster? Doesn't it seem some days like you're like this guy in the rocket sled whose face is just peeling off from how fast you're moving? Well, things are moving faster. I want to talk about the evolution of fishing. Now, I'm a student of history. I read an article recently that fishing was first detected 85,000 years ago by men with spears. It took almost 40,000 years to invent the net, not the internet, the fishing net, right? And then another 20,000 years to invent the hook, and it wasn't until 6,000 years ago we saw the barbed hook. So what is it, 80,000 years from the spear to the hook. Things didn't happen very fast back then. But guess what? 20% of us got an iPad in just 3 years, okay? Things are moving lots faster. And if you don't like change, you're gonna like irrelevance even less. At the height of the internet bubble, this quote was in the Harvard Business Review. Somewhere out there is a bullet with your name on it, shot by a competitor unknown and unborn who will render your business obsolete. I don't think that really happened. But if you change just one word and say business model obsolete, maybe that did happen. Now, I grew up in a small town. We had one bookstore, one record store, one movie theater. We looked at the classifieds, read the yellow pages, and had the encyclopedia at home. And then the mall moved in at the edge of town, and we got Barnes & Noble and Best Buy and a Megaplex theater. And Encarta came out on CD, the very first encyclopedia. Then we got to the online world with Amazon, the world's largest bookstore, CD Now, the most CDs. eBay started going after classifieds, and Big Yellow and Encarta came out online. Then we moved to the world of speed and convenience, the Kindle, the iPad, YouTube, Craigslist, Angie's List, Wikipedia, and the last four are user-generated. How'd you like to be Encyclopedia Britannica and compete against a hobby? They couldn't. They stopped manufacturing encyclopedias. And of course, now we're in the mobile and social world where I can read my Kindle app on any device. I can listen to music my friends are listening to with Spotify, right? Hulu's gone after movie theaters, Facebook's a better classified, Yelp a better Yellow Pages, Google a better encyclopedia. Business models are changing fast, and consumers are driving it because they have two new tools in their toolbox, the mouse and the smartphone. And it's changing the way they discover products, learn more about products, shop for products, buy products, get service on products, rave or complain about products. And what that's doing is tipping the balance of power to the buyer. As geographic barriers are eliminated, it doesn't matter where your company's located, price information is everywhere, prices are transparent, and buyers' experience are shared. We have extremely empowered buyers. The good news is that new opportunities lie where old models are crumbling. Successful leaders have to realize that customers today are internet-empowered, tech-savvy, time-starved, information-rich. That's a different kind of customer. Somewhere out there, Patrick, is the key to increased sales. Find that key, Patrick. Bring it to me. Did you ever have a boss like that? I did, Bob Crandall at American Airlines. Legendary tough guy. And I'm standing there with him looking out the window, and the window looked like that. I had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do. But I realized, of course, that success at American at that time was driven by innovation. And that's what drove the success of Travelocity.com that started it inside of American. So let's define innovation. Creativity is about thinking up new things. Innovation is about doing new things. It's about putting those ideas to work. And if you've explained your vision and mission to your employees, they're not the three blind mice. They probably understand the size of the opportunity that's in front of your company. And we all have superstars, you know, we're going to get that piece of cheese no matter how hard it is. This is the Tom Cruise of mice, right? And we have people who can make the sale, but they can't implement, right? They just can't bring it home. But frankly, when it comes to innovation, most people are afraid to go for it. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of risk. So if you want success, here's a few ideas. Okay. I believe that the engine of innovation rests on two pillars: the pillar of culture and the pillar of team. If you have the right culture and the right team, then you put the gas in the tank of innovation. But culture is extremely important because culture eats strategy for lunch. You can have the best strategy. If you have the wrong culture, you simply won't get any ideas. You won't get any ideas unless you create a culture of innovation. And that's a culture where an idea can exist. Because an idea is just a tiny little spark. It's a flame, and we're going around the room, and we're talking about that idea, and we're all excited. And somebody says, well, let me play devil's advocate for just a moment here. And poof, the spark goes out. It's done. Innovation is not like the Olympics. In the Olympics, you have 1 6-minute run down the mountain. You come in 4th out of the medals, your career is over. No, innovation is like baseball. And in baseball, if you fail 70% of the time, you're actually very good. You get a lot of chances. Success isn't permanent. Failure isn't fatal. You have to build a culture of experimentation. I don't think they mentioned I'm now chairman of kayak.com. 20% of kayak.com users see an experiment every day. We're always experimenting, and we're always failing. And when you fail, and I hope you do, because if you don't fail, you're not experimenting enough. Kill the project, not the person. Kill the project, not the person. Early on at Travelocity, we had a CD-ROM product, and we put movies on CDs, because you couldn't send movies over the internet back then. Pictures of the Caribbean. I spent $1 million producing it and getting it in the stores. And I lost $1 million producing it and getting it. It was a total failure. And I had to go to my boss, the CFO at American Airlines, and tell him I lost $1 million. You know what he said? He said, Terry, what did you learn? Wow, the word spread like wildfire. Terry didn't get fired, right? But also, that this guy was a coach, and a coach just doesn't throw people off the team. He works to make the team better. At Intuit, they say, we allow failure and harvest learning. How many of you harvest as much learning from failure as you do from success? As a leader, you have to realize your wake is larger than you imagine. As you motor through your company, you leave this big wake behind you. It consists of what you say and do. So, do you propose a new idea and you say, well, Bob, that's great, but, you know, we've always done it this way. Sally, we've never done it that way, right? Do you support and amplify, or do you disagree and play devil's advocate? Everyone is listening. Everyone in your company is watching very closely what you say and do. And what you get has a lot to do with what you say. Lou Gerstner said, culture is what people do in a company when no one is looking, right? So create the right culture and then build the right team. It's all about the team. I think this new world requires old world knowledge mixed with youthful exuberance. At Travelocity, I worked very hard to hire people from the outside. American Airlines didn't do that. But I wanted young people. They had messianic zeal, but they had no industry knowledge and no industry contacts. On the other hand, we had the .corp, or you might say the .corps. We had the suits who said the industry was fine, it didn't need fixing. They worked at a slow pace, but they had domain expertise. We put them together, they fought like cats in a bag. It was nuts. But out of that crucible came wonderful ideas. So mix it up. Yeah, you have to teach the old dogs new tricks, but you have to teach the new dogs old tricks anyway, right? And hire people who don't fit in. Would you have hired this guy? He became the world's richest man, and I got to know Bill pretty well when I was at American. Wickedly smart 20 years ago, terribly insightful, and just a little strange. You might not have hired Bill Gates, and what would you have missed, right? Can one person make a difference? Yeah, one person can make an amazing difference. Think of what Lou Gerstner did when he joined IBM. Think of what Alan Mulally has done with Ford. He didn't do it alone, but they were the spark that changed that whole company. One guy at Expedia, one guy beat us. He said to his boss, we should combine air, car, and hotel together in dynamic packages that customers can make themselves and get a discount. It took him a year to convince the boss to do it. It took him another year to build the software. And when they released it, they doubled their sales in 2 quarters, past Travelocity like we were stopped. Travelocity never caught them. One person. So build the right culture, build the right team, and you will begin to generate ideas. Where do good ideas come from? Do they come from the top of the company? I think they used to come from the top of the company because the top had all the information. At American, we wrote memos that went up and up to our chairman. He was a smart guy, but he also had all the information. So he and his senior vice president of marketing created the Advantage program, the very first mileage program. But today, I think good ideas can come from anywhere on the org chart because everyone has access to the information. And it's been my experience that the best ideas come from the bottom. So at Travelocity, we'd have meetings and discuss new ideas. The idea of paging people when their flight was late, that came from somebody in customer service. The idea from sending an email when the fare goes down came from a programmer. The best ideas come from the bottom. Innovation from the top down is orderly, but dumb. Innovation from the bottom up is chaotic and smart. But as a leader, you have to break through the boson layer. And the boson layer is the impenetrable layer of middle management that stops good ideas from moving upward. And we all know it exists. So as a leader, you have to reach down, get those ideas, and say, this is Bob's idea, we love it, and we're going to put it in place. And as people hear that, the boson layer will begin to break down. You also need to have sentries who are listening for new ideas. This is World War I radar. They didn't have radar, they had big headphones, and they would listen for airplanes. You need those headphones. At Travelocity, we had a British phone booth in the hall. If you picked it up, you listened to customer service. And everybody in the company, from the guy in the mailroom to me, had to listen to 2 customer service calls a month, and at staff meeting discuss 2 things. 1, how do we fix the company so people don't have to call us? And 2, what great new ideas did we hear from our customers? It involved everybody in the conversation. At kayak.com, we don't have a phone bank, but we do get emails. We send our emails to the engineers. You might think that's expensive, but our slogan is give the pain to the people who cause the pain. And it works. They get involved, right? Now, your customer won't always tell you what's next. You have to look beyond what's immediately apparent. I went to the management committee at American Airlines and proposed electronic tickets. And I said, look, we don't need tickets anymore. The computers are smart enough. We can get rid of tickets. And they said, well, but Terry, our customers want tickets. You know, what will they do for receipts? They will never accept this idea. Leave us, go from this room. And American was one of the last carriers to implement e-tickets. And yet today, 99% of tickets are e. And they not only missed that, they missed the jump to the self-service world where you print the ticket at home. You use your mobile phone, which totally changed airport manning. Why did they miss that? They were too comfortable. And in real innovation, being comfortable isn't good. You have to be uncomfortable. It's scary, right? Now, if you generate ideas, how do you select them? Well, if you go to the planetarium and see a supernova, what are you looking at? Something that happened 1 million years ago. How much of your revenue is a supernova? It's based on an idea that happened 40 or 50 years ago. So the Harvard Business Review published something called the golden ratio of innovation. A lot of big companies follow it. 70% of your innovation is core, 20% around adjacencies, and only 10% of those really big, risky ideas. But guess what? If you count up the money that comes from your innovation, 70% of it comes from those risky little ideas. So you have to nurture them. You have to put them in the greenhouse and let them grow, because they're the ones who are going to save you in the future, not the little tweaks that you're making to your current plan. Put your ideas to work. This is the thinker and the doer left. He's out there doing. I have 4 patents. They are not innovations. They're only ideas, because the company I work for never implemented them. You have to put them to work, and you can do more with less today. Travelocity today has 4,000 people. Pretty successful company. Kayak.com, which is the same size and number of visitors, has 200 people. How do you do that? Open source, hire terrific people, computers in the cloud, customers from Google. It's a new model, right? You can do it. We just sold this company for $1.8 billion, 200 people. Yeah, Steve and Steve started Apple in a garage, but Zuck started in a dorm room, 1 person. There's more change ahead. And I wish there was a button on the keyboard for innovation, but there isn't. And I know you all think you have a tough job. You don't have a tough job. They have a tough job. That's the great Wallendas, the world's best wire act. And you know what their mission statement is? You fall, you die. They have a hard job. You don't have a hard job. Ronald Reagan said, when we come to the edge of the known world, we're standing on the shores of the infinite. That's where we are right now. It's so exciting. Gosh, you know, when I think about all the things we get to do in the future, it makes me so excited. Folks, change is inevitable. But growth is optional. It's up to you. And I believe with Arthur Clarke that the future is a foreign country. They do things differently there. Keep on innovating. Thank you very much.